Good afternoon. Welcome to the April 16th, 1:30 p.m. City Council meeting. At this time, we will stand for the pledge and for prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father God, we just come to you, Father, just thanking you first, Father, for all that you do for us, Father. Thank you for the comfort that you give us in the times of need, Father. I just personally thank you, Father, for all that you've done for me and just keeping me strong, Father. And I just thank you for this council that we work together so well, Father, and that we have vision for the city, Father, and that's what we put in front of us, Father, and that's what we work toward together, Father, is just a better city for our citizens, Father. And I just thank you for all the employees, Father, that work for the city, Father, and that they give so much. And I just praise you for them, and I just ask your blessings over them. And Lord, for all the citizens, Father, also, just I ask your blessings over Borger, Father, in every area and every way. And I just pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
And at this time, there will be questions or comments from any citizen that would like to speak. And I see none, so we will move forward to the city manager's monthly report.
So you've got, excuse me, all the documents in your packet. You'll notice everything's still trending pretty positive with all of our financials. I will just point out a little bit on, you'll see the one department, we talked about this a little bit, but the fire mitigation department has reached their budget already, but you know, they're eating the most of the time for all the TIFMAS responses to both the wildfires. And then here and some additional ones coming forward, of course, there will be offsetting revenue. With that, you'll notice the contract fire line item is already over our budgeted revenue amount, and that's going to change significantly once we start asking for reimbursements with the FMAG grant program. So other than that, everything's good. Elsewhere, we're about on track with our budgeted expenditures. Sales tax was again up, so we're still trending higher this year than last year, which considering thing, I think is positive. If you recall, we did budget a flat year, so our sales tax revenue is still trending above last year, so that's good. Also in this council package, you'll see the quarterly investment report. Just kind of wanted to point out that you'll notice that our average weighted returns a little over 5.4% on $19 million that's in investments right now. So we're doing really well there. If you recall, last year we had about $1.2 million in interest income that's helping us fund some of the other capital projects with some of that. Now, I will say that we do anticipate that to keep coming down. You know, we do have a lot of capital budgeted this year that had been kind of deferred over the last year or two, so that will be working itself down. You know, 10th Street's finally progressing, so we're seeing bigger payments coming out of 10th Street. And then as we go through the Main Street Park, and we'll talk a little bit about projects, or we can just go right into projects. So 10th Street, I know that, you know, in the past 8 months, we've seen a few delays. Most of those were tied to the underground utilities, but since they've been out of the way, you've seen pretty much daily steady progress out there, so they are progressing quite well. All the electricals run for the new street lights. The bases have now been poured. All the curb and gutter and most of the sidewalk have been done. There's a few little areas that they're having to redo some ramps based on how the final grade turned out, and they are getting ready to pour the Hedgecoke intersection. If you recall, like Hedgecoke was before, that's one of the main stormwater flows, so that's going to be concrete, including the roadway there. We're getting close to the point, though, where there's going to be some cure time and some downtime that's just part of that project. So once they pour the concrete at Hedgecoke, it's got to cure for at least 17 days before anything can go on top of it. So you're going to see the roadway, and then once they pour the oil the sub base, you know, that oil's got to cure and allow the sub base to harden before they put the pavement on top of it. So we're getting really close to where we're going to be ready for pavement, but there might be a week or so to where it looks like nothing's being done, but we're just waiting for the base and then the concrete to cure. You can't, that laydown machine's quite heavy, and if you roll it over that concrete too early, it'll break and fracture the concrete. I will say that I've heard some feedback that they wish that our concrete contractor was moving as quick as the state's concrete contractor.
Yeah.
However, I will say, if you've noticed, the state did the easy stuff first,
Yeah.
and now they're going back, and they've slowed down significantly from what it looked like they were doing in the first 2 weeks. I will also remind everybody that this project, the terrain and the grade differences is quite significant on 10th Street, and we are doing quality control testing. So like every time we've got to coordinate concrete delivery so that we can pull a cylinder out of each concrete load to test it and make sure that it's meeting standards, so that this roadway, you know, lasts for the 50 or 60 years that we want it to last for after spending this much money. So overall, they're about a week behind schedule because of that Hedgecote delay. There was another small conflict with AT&T that took a little bit of time to work out on that intersection, which is why that intersection hasn't been poured. But we're still on schedule to change traffic patterns probably the latter half of May. So we're about a month away from having the north side finished.
When they, on Hitchcock, are they going to detour to the south
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
then, or to the north? I would imagine the south.
Well, it won't have through traffic anymore. So there's, you will see staggering detours. The contract calls for the contractor to leave one of the intersecting streets open. So it's probably not going to be Hedgecote, because there again, we're going to have to pour Hedgecote in concrete. So they'll put the sign off, like you'll be able to enter the half block, but you won't be able to cross 10th Street. So they'll rotate between closing Dixon, Coble, McGee, and Hedgecote, but there will always be one open. Normally, there should be in theory, there should only, the plan is to have only one closed and have all the other ones open, but
I was just curious for
So
future.
10th Street will be completely closed off.
no, well, you just can't, because they're gonna be working on the south side, so like right now, you can turn from the south side onto 10th.
Yeah.
Once they start, they're gonna keep an intersection that you can cross to get onto 10th Street, but, you know, as you see now, there are some terrain differences, and so they're gonna have to build up some temporary ramps and some things like that they will do, but as they work on the base and grading it down, there's gonna be rolling closures depending on.
Okay. Makes
So when they do Hedgecote, they won't be going straight on across both lanes, just that one lane?
Well, they'll do Hedgecote all at once.
Okay.
Because we have to pour it all at once.
That's what I was-
Yeah. But what I'm saying is if Hedgecote is closed, McGee will be open.
Right.
Okay.
If McGee is closed, Hedgecote will be open. So you might have to go down to 9th and go a block left or a block right, but, you know,
Yeah.
hopefully we can go a block. I think, you know, as you're starting to see it lay out, I mean, it's gonna look, I mean, in addition to the road being way better, it's going to look.
Yeah, it's gonna be great,
Way
but I
better.
know it's hard on the businesses down there.
Well, and keep in mind, you know, I know we've had some underground utility delays, but the utilities are done. So when we move to the south side, you're not gonna have that utility work that we waited on the north side that looked like nothing was getting done, but they were actually doing stuff underground. And I mean, there was movement. Of course, there was some time where there wasn't movement, but on the south side, you're not gonna have that. It should almost all be road work. So the time frame on there is like 3 months to get it tore up, regraded, built up, and back open. Also, the last part of the Meggert parking lot is a phase on its own, so they won't do it until the street is done. So the new half of the Meggert parking lot will be open along with the old half
Right.
until the street's done. Once the street is done, they will go back and do just that last half of Meggert. And then the final step will be one new top coat of asphalt over all of the project and final striping and marking.
Okay.
So the street at this point should be fully open, at least with all lanes and most of the concrete, sometime in September. And then they'll move to the parking lot, and hopefully we'll have everything done by November, parking lot and top coated, other than the punch list. So they are moving pretty well. J. Lee Milligan's done a good job on our side of it. Most of the delays have been things outside of our control. I know it's frustrating, but in the end, we're still gonna have a completely rebuilt street in about 12 months. And that's not too bad. And we're getting all of that parking lot too. I mean, you're gonna have, the 10th and Cedar is the busiest intersection in all of town. And so when you get that done with the parking lot and some trees and the new concrete and the decorative lighting and the banner poles, I mean, aesthetically, it's gonna look drastically different too.
Yeah, for sure.
So it is progressing. We have started work on the downtown pass-through park in the 400 block, which is the follow-up to the grant that we had last year, which is gonna construct that between the new parking lot and the, well, I guess I can't call it the new parking lot anymore. We're going on 3 years, but I'm finally.
The newest.
I joke a lot, and I hate that I'm getting to this point, but I'm finally old enough to where new has a different meaning than it used to. But, so you are starting to see, we got the plumbing and the irrigation system is down, so the electrician will come in and run the underground electrical work that's needed before they start doing the concrete and building up that, so that's pretty good. We did delay the bid opening for the Johnson Park Youth Center pool by 3 weeks. We had some questions come up that we had to answer, and so to give them a little more time, with some of the other bids we've had coming back, we believe that giving them more time gets us a more if they don't have the time to accurately bid it, they're gonna inflate the bid to make sure that they don't get, bid there. But we're still on time because, our goal with that project is to make sure that we've got it awarded and ready to start construction after this summer season, so that we can have it done and ready to open next summer. And so, of course, that is all pending how well the bids come in or how close the bids come in to what we're estimating. Because we are also in the process of rebidding the Rock Creek sewer crossing that we denied last week because the storm drainage part came in significantly over. But the bright side of that is the sewer project was on target, so I'm hoping that the pool project will be on target too. But we do have those projects continuing to move forward, so I know we're excited about that. As we go through our departments, IT's been working on rolling out some new remote management software and working through some server issues. We did get moved to the cloud, so the server's not the big problem that sounds like a big problem, but it's not really that big of a problem because we don't have much on the server anymore since we've transitioned to the cloud to make sure that we've got more redundancy in our IT systems. We do want to give a little bit of recognition to our dispatchers this week, as it is National Telecommunicator Week. So I know they've been getting a lot of recognition there. Actually, NENA, the National Emergency Telecommunicator National Association, was here last week or the week before to recognize them for their work that they did during the wildfires. And so it was nice to have that recognition, and that they've also been working with ProQA to update some of the issues they've been having with their protocol software and get some of those lined out. So as we kind of get into recovery from the wildfires, of course, emergency management and fire marshal have been busy working through that, but we also had time for our severe weather exercise that was hosted at the Dome for regional exercises, had pretty good participation there. And then we also hosted the annual storm spotter training for the Skywarn program through the National Weather Service for those participating in that. The spotters provide a pretty valuable resource for the Weather Service as they're looking at warnings and rating things, looking for hail size and things like that. So, of course, we've had a pretty long history of having a lot of engaged weather spotters in this community, so that will continue. Jason did participate and testify in the House Committee investigating the wildfires. We also had Archie testing an interesting or some interesting comments on how that went. I'm not for sure what the overall goal was, but I was a little surprised that our mitigation efforts weren't quite embraced as positively as they have been everywhere else and amongst others, but we'll see how that goes. We are hosting our after action report May 1st for our wildfire response in the county and getting everybody together to kind of talk through that, make sure that we are doing well there. And we also are in the process of
I
hiring.
thought that was the 29th. Isn't there something on the 29th about the wildfires? Or at the Dome? No?
There might be. There's some more public stuff.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's just the responders for, what went right, what didn't, what do we need to improve, where were there things that have some shortcomings. And then we're also, the emergency management has found a new generator maintenance provider. So we've been trying to work through our generator maintenance with electricians and that's kind of okay, but generators are things of their own. So we're going to switch over to that, make sure that our generators are always, ready to go and work like they're supposed to when we need them. course, finance has been busy with the audit that will be presented here shortly, so, you know, we'll talk a little more about that, so I'm not gonna spoil Rob's presentation too much, or my kudos for Terry and the finance team until we get to that part. Of course, HR, this has been HR's, one of HR's busy seasons, hiring all the summer park rec employees and getting them all good to go. We've also hired 3 interns again this year. So we've got 2 coming back. I know that Deidre over there is excited for one of them. So Deidre and Nicole both, I think they're.
They have stolen her before she had a chance to go anywhere else.
And IT is getting their intern back that worked out really well last year, and then finance is going to try one. So we're excited to get some of our kids back, you know, for the summer and give them some experience. I know Anne-Marie with Deidre and Nicole last year was, even though she's a chemical engineering major, she was quite surprised to learn as much as she did and understand, you know, what cities do and what all there is to it and how much more there is to it, especially when you're dealing with comments and complaints that are based on incomplete facts.
For sure.
Good wording.
That was really good wording.
That was good. That's real good wording.
It's, you know, what you pay me for, right?
And you're worth every penny.
And then HR is also, we have started our implementation for our new applicant tracking and onboarding software, you know, which we use to hire people with. And so the previous one is being discontinued, so we didn't have a choice, but this one I think will be a lot better. Fire, of course, is transitioning back into a little bit. I'm gonna warn you, we've been talking about it a little bit, but we finally got the paperwork back from Seagrave for the next fire engine.
Thank you.
But we told you that the contract was gonna be for a 1,000-day delivery. It's for 1,200 days.
Wow.
So this will be on your next council meeting, because we're gonna have to order something that's gonna take 3.3 years to get here.
That's crazy.
So on the bright side, their price is about 50 grand cheaper than we kind of thought it was gonna be. So of course, we'll see what it is in 3.3
Right.
years when we get it.
Yeah, we'll be paying an extra.
That's the one they
fee.
raised up the last time, right?
Yeah, we have to pay a fee.
Extended it and cost us more money.
I do think we are seeing a little more stability in commodity prices and stuff like that, so I don't think this will be quite as bad. The ladder truck was just ordered, I think, at a bad time when there was so many changes. But on that note, Mike and his team will be going next week for the final inspection on the new tower truck, so we are finally getting closer to that actually being delivered, which is good, because I'm getting tired of spending money on a truck that should have been out of here
Yeah.
last August. But will be a nice piece of equipment, and they're excited from that. Fire department also had 3 of their firemen attend the Come and Take It conference in Arlington. They had some pretty good feedback with that. You
Come
will-
and take it.
The Come and Take It.
Okay. I like that.
Better than can you take it?
Well, you know, they are firemen, so they come and take lots of money from us, don't they? But I do always joke, and normally I'm on Mike's side, because, you know, we talk about how expensive these fire trucks are and stuff, but, you know, keep in mind, they have a 20-year service span, so when you divide that out by 20 years, the previous police chief never liked when I threw that out there, because he always liked to throw out how expensive they were, but when you look at the number of police cars we buy a year, plus the number of fire trucks divided by the useful life, we actually spend about $15,000 more a year on equipment for the police department than we do on the fire department.
And we're out, please.
But so, I mean, you know, they do have good longevity. I know they're expensive, but they are, you know, they definitely provide a service. I think especially during the wildfires recently, we saw the benefit of investing in both mitigation and our fire department. So we do get return on that, and it does, you know, keep your ISO rate. So we'll reinforce that until the day I die. We can either support and provide funding to our fire department, or we can pay it in increased insurance, which is already high enough without us giving them a reason to make it any higher, and send all that money to New York or someplace else. So we do.
New York, get a road.
Yeah, I think about a Pace McConnell commercial every time I say New York. Fire department also participated in the severe weather exercise, and they helped with the program at the middle school during their STAR testing week. Of course, Leadership Borger went through all the city departments, including the fire department, in the last month. And the Wildland has got their new mower So we bought them a zero-turn mower as part of this budget. The brush hog's been good, but the zero-turn gives them a little better into some closer-up areas, and so they've been putting that to pretty good work out in the urban interface, and of course, we know what benefit that
Yes, for sure.
that provides. So in Public Works and Recreation, the pool's opening day is May 29th. So they're getting all the lifeguards trained and getting ready for that. The Parks Department is finally back full staff. Streets is still one short, but we did hire one. We had 2 openings in streets. One retired and one came over to code enforcement. So most of their openings aren't negative. They're just or, switches around or retirements or things like that. And we did get one more hired in solid waste, so we're making progress in solid waste. We did finally, I think I mentioned this last month, but I can't remember, but we did finally get our 2 new transfer tractors, the semi-trucks, and the 1 new trailer, so we've got all of their equipment finally in, and we are starting to keep up with that. Parks Department started fertilizing and watering grass citywide. I've been doing, or parks citywide, I'm working on aerating. On April 24th, the City of Borger Public Works is hosting TML Intergovernmental Risk Pool Safety Training for several different courses for our region, and we'll be sending some people through that. We are working, so we talked about this last time in our work session, but the wind did finally compromise one of the light poles at the Huber Park Baseball Stadium. So we are in the process of taking the rest of those down. We've kind of been, we've known that they've needed some help for some time, but kind of waiting for Mother Nature to dictate when that was going to be, and it just finally so dictated. We're working on at least quoting, so we can look at some options for how and we might want to fund or when we might want to fund. That stadium is mostly used by the school district, so we're doing, I don't anticipate replacing those lights unless or until we get some sort of cooperative agreement with the school district to fund some of that. So right now they seem to be okay. None of their games are scheduled at night, so it doesn't seem to have interrupted some of that. There are some other uses that we're planning on using the lights that are having to reallocate, but last time we quoted that a couple of years ago, it was about $400,000 to replace those lights, and I expect that's gone up, and so it's not a cheap thing, so we need to be a little mindful in how we approach that and with that. We do have the footings poured for the new toddler play area at Huber Park, so that's the last step of that project, so we're hoping to get that in here pretty soon. It might be a little late for when they want it, but we know that that'll complement the new play equipment that's been quite well used out there.
Yes.
So I think we did good, at least on picking some of that, because I've never seen that many. It's been a long time since I've seen that many kids at the play equipment that regularly or just on random days without some sort of special event. And we are working on getting the splash pads ready to open. That'll probably be early May when we'll have to see. We've got some colder weather coming, so we don't want to, those aren't something that you turn on and then need to turn off, so we'll make sure that the weather's fully passes. But just a reminder, we do have a second splash pad this year that'll be opening up in Buena Vista Park. So it's not quite as big as the one in Huber Park, but that will give people another option. If you haven't been by Buena Vista Park lately, it's had quite a bit of improvement over the last couple of budget cycles, so we're excited about that. In the police department, our new animal control officer has achieved her euthanasia certificate, and then they also worked with the dog egg hunt, which went really well.
It did.
We'll talk about that.
You got a lot of comments.
That there, but they were able to vaccinate 14 dogs during the dog hunt, so that was good. Police department as a whole did also support the severe weather exercise. They helped us as a fire department with the snack pack for kids. The detectives went over and supported the bridge ceremony in recognition of Child Abuse Awareness Month. We did that proclamation last week. The drone has also had a busy month. They've been helping Whistler map the fires and some of the investigations as we go back and work on fine-tuning the investigations for those. And they actually did use it in a traffic stop after the person ran from the stop, so the drone actually got up, and vegetation he was hiding under wasn't quite good enough to evade the drone.
Interesting.
Infrared, not infrared, what's it called?
In city secretary, in court, the trials, due to scheduling conflict, had to be rescheduled for May. So the trials that were going in April are being rescheduled to May. And then our court staff, Michelle and Evalie, are going next week to the training, and they're both going to be taking their level 2 test. So we wish them well on that, and I have good confidence that they'll come back with their next level of certification, even though they're probably scared to death that I even mentioned it and threw it out, and I'm gonna jinx them, and so if they don't, I'm sure I'll get the brunt of that. They're both nice enough, they won't say anything, but I'll see it in their eyes next time. Go there. And then, of course, Stella, this is Stella's favorite time of the year, especially this week as she's been trying to update the iPads for the poll pads and all that stuff, but early voting does start next Monday. So it'll run the 22nd through the 26th from 8 to 5 here at City Hall. And then on the 29th and 30th, those are our 12-hour days from 8 to 8. And then the election is May 4th. In planning development, we've started to get some more calls about our lawn care kits as the rain and the spring up is starting to happen. So we're glad to see some more people interested in that. Remember, if you don't have the equipment to take care of your lawn, we do have a couple of those to help you take care of your own lawn as we try to improve homeowner responsibilities. We did send out last month our code enforcement flyer and the water bill. So we've had some pretty good feedback with that. That's also driven some of those calls. But just as a reminder, you are responsible for the alley or easement behind your house to the middle of the right-of-way behind your house.
And also, if you put in bulk items, please tell them to call to have them picked up.
Send that.
It is.
Yeah, if you have bulk items, we will pick it up, but you do need to call and schedule it and not just set it out there. And really, we prefer those to be on the front curb and not next to the trash can, which interferes with the dumpster being picked up. We are working on reinforcing that education. We also had our neighborhood cleanup day in Buena Vista this month, and so we had about 4,000 pounds again used in the trailers that we set around Buena Vista. So next up with that is Fairlanes 2. So next month in May, we'll be out in Fairlanes 2 setting up those. Don't forget too that we do have the free bulk waste self-help program. You can call and we'll come set a trailer out on your property. You fill it up, we haul it off. If you've got a truck, you get 1,000 free pounds of disposal at the transfer station. If you have limbs, you can take it to the limb pile, all for Borger residents. We are still getting calls from county residents, and no, those programs do not go into the county. So we feel for you, but those are the benefits to living in the city and paying that city tax.
When you have a dumpster, whatever, brought out to your property, does that go on the weight limit
No.
for your property? So it's a free pickup and delivery? Okay, just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, so we're trying to take a more proactive approach. If we don't make it easier, it ends up being illegally dumped, so we're Now, remember, this is not for commercial enterprises.
And it's still
So-
supposed to be tires and stuff, right?
Right, you still have to pay for tires. I mean, you can use it if you've got a lot of tires and you need help picking it up, we might let you use it to put them in there, but we're gonna charge you per tire.
Same with construction material.
Right,
It gets charged for.
Right, this is for trash, bulk, things that are, if you can afford to renovate your house, you can afford to pay to have your trash taken off. So without special conditions, this is mainly, you need to throw away a bunch of stuff that's been piling up, you're trying to clean out your
clean.
yard. I mean, this is for trash,
Yeah.
not commercial activity. The Wide Array crew has already, we have pre-treated all of our empty lots that are under our care with the pre-emergent, hoping to keep some of the weeds down, prior to the weed growing season. We've also started mowing the right-of-ways and planning, and they did also complete a demolition of a substandard structure on Jackson Street, and they started reviewing plans for a remodel at Brahms. So if you're a fan of Brahms, maybe it's gonna get a little better, but I haven't seen the plans yet. In public engagement, of course, we did.
Will they make it where you can turn? Give the word
That's
direction.
text on. So in public engagement, of course, we did have our dog egg hunt.
That's not what it's called. It's not what it's called.
And what are we calling it?
We've changed the name to Barks and Rec.
Well, yeah, I said Barks and Rec, but you said something that somebody didn't like, that you didn't like, but I kind of liked it, that
Manny, he was calling it the paw hunt.
the paw hunt. I kind of like the paw hunt. To me, that's better than the paw tea. But, yeah, we have, they had over 100 dogs and animals show up to the dog hunt, and got some good feedback on how to improve the dog park. And so we are having we've had pretty good turnout to our animal-related events, including the paw tea at the swimming pool last summer. So I'm sure we'll be doing that again, which is why we are kind of branching off into that sub-segment of bark and recs. To give, some of our dogs some things to do. We did also have another successful sip and shop just last weekend. So those have been pretty good at hauling people and exposing people to some of our local businesses and shops, and that's hear that they spent pretty good money again, so that was in
We heard
conjunction.
many times, we didn't know that was here, we didn't know that was here.
Garrett, that's how we know, that's kind of how we measure our success. And
Yeah.
not that we like to hear that people don't know that our local businesses are there, but it reinforces why we do what we do.
And then we're still getting ready for Lemonade Day, so we've got 15 kids signed up for Lemonade Day. Workshops were today, or already today? Or tonight, oh yeah, tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if you need some help, you're not required to go to the workshop, but they'll talk everybody through. But we're excited to see the lemonade stands. Those will be on display during Beach Bash when the kids will be selling their lemonade from their lemonade stand. So remember, that program's exposing younger kids to entrepreneurial skills and business type skills. So we're excited. I
And
think
that's all
that'll
here
be.
in Maine.
Mhm. They'll be all probably in a row on one of the cross streets when we get that set up. So. We do also have our reality check event coming up May 9th at the Dome, so there are still some needs for some people to help with some booths. If anybody wants to help with some booth, keep in mind this is where we bring in the high school kids. They randomly pick a job, get some money, and have to kind of work through life.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so they'll have vendors for banks and insurance and home, and so give them some exposure to maybe living at home with their parents isn't as bad as they think it is. Of course, she's also been working on the annual report. We'll talk about that shortly. The Youth Advisory Council went and cleaned up Heber Park for us over the weekend. They got quite a bit of trash there. So they're starting to explore ways to expose the high school kids to the problem that they're creating that maybe they don't think they're creating. So they're trying to work through some of that. The Boomtown Beat, latest edition of the Boomtown Beat went out last month as well, so we got that done. And I'm kind of scared to say this, but they've been getting feedback about line dancing. So we might be seeing how the city might want to sponsor, get people involved in line dancing. I think that might be a good way to work in some other city education. Well, maybe I'm thinking of square dancing. We could,
Oh, gosh.
we could work in some city factoids into the square dance calling, But that's what we've been up to for the last month. I'll entertain any questions anybody might have.
Good report.
Yeah. Thank you, Garrett. And so we'll move on to consent items 6, 7, 8, and 9. If anybody has anything to ask, or if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept consent items 6 through 9 as written.
I second.
All in favor? And it passes. And item 10, receive a presentation from Singleton Clark, the city's audit firm, and then consider and take appropriate action to receive the fiscal year 2023 comprehensive annual financial report. Mr. Spradley?
Yeah, I'm just going to start just a little bit because, it seems like we've done this a lot in the last 18 months after getting so far behind and not doing it for so long, but we're actually finally caught up. And for the most part, this audit took a normal procedure, and this is actually the earliest we've approved an audit in 16 years.
Thank you.
So I'm very excited to get this more closer on time. I do want to thank Terry and Christy and Sarah for all their work and helping with Rob. They've made it, this has been the easiest audit on me ever. So I'm very thankful of that, and now I'll let Rob talk to the guts of it.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to join you again, especially to be here in person. The last time I presented up there, and it didn't go well for me. I think it went well or better for you, so I'm glad to be here in person. I'm joining you this afternoon to present for council's acceptance Borger's audit for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2023. I've got a copy. Hopefully you have access to electronic or printed version in case we need to open it up. I will try to be brief in my remarks. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot to discuss, which is a good thing. You don't want me to have a lot to say. When I sit down to decide what to discuss with you, I try to focus on things that are significant and relevant to the audit itself, and I usually start with three things. The opinion and what it means, how we got to that opinion, so were there observations or conclusions related to the audit, so were there findings, were there recommendations, were there audit adjustments, and then we wrap up generally with, or normally with, this contemplation of calculated reserves in the general funds ending on assigned fund balance. So I'll start with the opinion. And the opinion is very important to us. It's the heart of this report. It's a letter at the front of the report. It summarizes what we did, what we're responsible for as your auditor, what the city is responsible for as the auditee, and then ultimately makes a statement, which is the opinion. And the opinion covers the financial statements, the footnotes, and the required supplementary information. And that opinion or statement is that after having performed the audit, that it is our belief that the information in the report is fairly stated in all material respects and presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. The technical term for the type of opinion that you receive for the year is unmodified, which only speaks to the fact that the standard format of the letter has not been changed in any way. So there are no exceptions to it. There are no limitations to the opinion. It doesn't do necessarily a good job of conveying it's what you want to receive. And so often we rely on the common term, which is clean. What you receive for the year ended 9/30/2023 is a clean opinion. Most auditees, after having gone through the audit, do receive a clean opinion. And so it's important to consider how we got to that clean opinion. And that comes by way of the other conclusions or observations of the audit itself. So were there findings? Findings come in two types. They can be related to compliance issues or control issues. And so for the year under audit, there were no findings, nor did we have any in the prior year. Second item is, did we have any?
Did you say you didn't have any in the previous
We did
year?
not.
Okay. Because I was
No
thinking.
findings for the current or prior.
We didn't have any findings.
Okay, so that's, okay.
Yeah, that's the second. So
Okay.
did we have any recommendations?
Yeah, that's
And
what I
so
was thinking.
last year, we did have 3 recommendations. We did not continue those. So there were no audit recommendations, and so they generally relate to a perceived inadequacy related to controls or procedures or failure to adhere to those. And so there were no recommendations for the year under audit. And then the last item is, did we have any audit adjustments, which relates directly to that idea of fairly stated and presented in accordance with GAAP. And so for the year under audit, there were 4. Last year, we had 14. And so certainly an improvement there. And so what we do is kind of package those 3 items together and see how they speak to how we got to a clean opinion. So 0 findings, 0 recommendations, 4 adjustments. I think you got to and ought to be proud that you got to a clean opinion very well. And if I were to be asked to provide a letter grade, I would say Borger deserves an A. So the last item that we normally take a look at is calculated reserves and the general fund's ending fund balance. And so what we do is take total expenditures for the year, divide by 12, and come up with an average monthly amount, and then divide that back into ending unassigned fund balance. So for the year under audit, the average monthly expenditures in the general fund were $1.382 million, which is about 112% of the prior year. Last year was 1.23. You did experience negative net change for the year. It was about 500,000. And so last year when I was here, the reserves were 5.4. For the year ended 9/30/2023, it was 4.4.
And keep in mind that that's related to us taking over EMS service.
Yeah.
So if you remember, we bought 3 ambulances and cots and what he was saying is the negative decrease was about $500,000, but if you recall, we budgeted a $1.2 million shortfall planning that. So we actually performed better, less negative than we had planned on.
Right.
So As a firm, we generally recommend having between 3 and 6. You're at the middle of that range at 4.5, and for the reasons that Garrett described, and certainly I don't have any issue with and believe that your fund balance is healthy and where I think it ought to be. Before I summarize and make an announcement, just like to take this opportunity to say thank you. I always try to express gratitude to and thank council for allowing us to serve as your independent auditor. I'd like to thank the finance department and everyone else we came in contact with during the performance of the audit. We certainly appreciate everyone's help. It's a big process, and so thank you, everyone. Thank you, Terry, who's not here. We're going to be,
She's learning
coming
new
back,
things.
and I'm going home. And so the small announcement is that the city will be going out for the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement. This is the first time. We did kind of a dry run last year, and so certainly have every hope and belief that it will be awarded next year and will be included in next year's report. So in summary, clean opinion, gotten to very well. No findings, no recommendations for adjustments. Healthy fund balance, 4.4 months of reserves. Does anyone have any questions related to anything I discussed or anything else related to the audit?
No, but I would like to say thank you, because ever since I've been on council, this is the first time we've ever had the audit on time. And I mean, it's always been very late. So
We're a
it's
month
been-
late, actually. So the certificate requirement is for 31. And so you took a month delay for it being the first year, and so it'll be Terry's and the city's decision next year if you want to seek that extension, but it should be 3/31 next year.
Well, this will be, this fiscal '24 will kind of be the first audit in 5 years where we're on a regular schedule again. This is technically Rob's third audit, but the next one will be the first one that he's had on what their schedule was proposed when we started all this, and that's, due to Larry, our previous auditor getting
Yeah,
sick and
yeah.
delaying, and so.
Illnesses and stuff.
So, I definitely, Rob and Singleton Clark, everybody at the firm, they've been really great in helping us out, get us through those first little bit, and so I know that he's happy that he's not gonna have to think about Borger for about 4 months. And because I'm pretty sure he's had some of that on his to-do list now for the last 2 years, so.
But we have 4.5 months reserve, so it's okay.
Anybody have anything?
good.
Thank you.
Because he is your consultant, so this is your time to, ask him if I'm lying.
We appreciate your report. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. So at this time, I will entertain a motion.
I move to accept the fiscal year 2023 annual comprehensive financial report.
Second.
And all in favor? And it passes. And we'll move on to item 11, receive the fiscal year 2023 annual report, popular annual financial report. Mrs. Thomas.
Does everybody have a copy of it? I mean, really, this is kind of just the pretty dumbed-down version of the, I don't even know how many pages the other full report of the audit is, but it kind of just breaks down kind of the general basics of our finances, and it kind of sheds a little bit of light onto the different departments we have as well. I think that's the fun part, is making everything look pretty, but also getting to highlight the things that our departments do. Most people don't realize the ins and outs of the things that they do, so I've kind of made it a purpose to get more pictures and capture more moments of a lot of the folks that work for us, so hopefully that's reflected in the report. But look through it. If you have questions, just let me know.
I like the benchmarking performance measures being in there. Because I think that's something citizens would like to see.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the first thing that I noticed when I started working here was that. That's what really captivated me, because, I mean, it's great to work towards metrics, but it kind of opens your eyes to what we're actually doing in each different department. So
Yeah,
hopefully everybody finds that pretty helpful as well.
yeah.
Well, some of this, and this takes the financial information and all the hard work that the finance team and Rob just did and put it, this is the companion document. And the GFOA makes awards for the PAFR, the Public Annual Financial Report, as well. So, but we haven't been able to submit this because you can't submit this unless you submit
I see.
the
So-
audit on
So
time.
now that we're on time, that's why we're going to get to submit it this year. That's great.
But, there are some pretty cool things, like in here, in the last, since 2013, our net positions increased by 146%. And so when you go by here and you look at some of the charts and you see some of the performances, this shows you how well we did financially. This shows you better about what we did
Yeah.
with all that money and where it all went.
The citizens can pick this up here at City.
Yeah, we'll have printed copies here. It'll go online, and we'll start our distribution. We kind of need to make sure the audit was good, and we'll double check all of that. And we've been double checking that, but it'll be put out here shortly.
We'll put it into a flip book too, so that way whenever you visit our websites, you can look through it as if it's a digital magazine, so.
I appreciate the dummy version.
Me too.
That's and you were talking about me earlier being phrased. That's why I think the GFOA calls it popular for
Yeah,
the general populace
makes sense.
instead of calling it the dumbed down version.
I still appreciate it.
Does anybody have anything for Deidre?
This looks good.
If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to receive the fiscal year 2023 annual report.
Second.
All in favor? Did you vote?
I did.
Okay, it passes. I thought I was gonna have to say all opposed.
I'm just a naysayer.
And then move on to item 12, consider and take appropriate action to receive the annual tourism report from the Tri-City Concert Association of the Friends of the Hutchinson County Historical Museum. Mrs. Flanders.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and council members. I know you already have looked at this report, and I thank you for your approval of the contract. I did bring you a handout with next year's concerts, and I think we've got a good variety, and we're working to advertise those as much as we can. We would love to have more people attending these concerts. It's just a really good experience for people of all ages. They're all very family friendly. You don't have to worry about bringing your children and having them hear something that's not acceptable. So I'm hoping that we'll have an increase next year. So are there any questions about that report? Okay. I'll go on to the Friends of the Museum. I do want to recognize Tina Briscoe. She's the president of the Friends of the Museum, and she's also works with the Historical Commission, which some of you may know is a state mandated organization that every county is supposed to have a historical commission organization, and you can be active or not very active, however you choose. But one of the things that Tina does to help us with Friends is that she monitors the markers the historical markers that get erected from the Texas Historical Commission. And I do want to make a correction on the second page of my report. I said that, we have a marker in process for the dome, and you said they're at the foundry. So hopefully in a few months we'll have that on site. We applied for a replacement for the Plemons Bridge marker, which was put out there many years ago and disappeared almost immediately. And so we're hoping to get permission to put it on the highway, first of all, where it's more visible, and secondly, maybe less subject to stealing. So, are there any questions about the Friends? Okay, well, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll just add that the Friends were really helpful with our haunted history tour this last year. And Clay and all of them did a good job with that. And I was going to say maybe it was those ghosts that took that marker back.
They thought it was Boo Town.
And I still use the Friends as an example too of when we talk about the dome and wanting to have it as multi-purpose as possible. That first year after, they had their nice cowboy poetry event, the ballroom did really well, and across in the dome was the cage fighting going on. I was like, if that doesn't give you two, polar opposites of an event.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And I will just, the delay in this was my fault. I kind of gave Judy short notice when I realized April 1st was almost here and wanted to get those agreements done before they expired so that the auditor didn't get on us for, making
Yeah.
payments without an agreement, so.
I appreciate your allowing me some leeway.
Absolutely. Does anyone have anything for Judy? If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to receive the annual tourism reports for Tri-City Concert Association and Friends of the Hutchinson County Historical Museum.
A second.
All in favor? Let me start looking at your way. Thank you. I'm just kidding. And it passes. And item 13, consider and take appropriate action to introduce on first reading ordinance O-003-24, renewing the standards of care of youth programs, and schedule a public hearing on May 7th at 6:30 PM. Mr. Spradlin.
So this is now the 5th year in a row we've done this, as part of our Park Rec Summer Program, to be exempt from some of the state requirements, we have to adopt the standards of care. Again, this year, all this is gonna do is adopt the same standards, there are no changes, and everything's exactly the same. So if you have any questions, I'll answer them, but
If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to introduce on first reading ordinance 0-003-24, renewing the standards of care for youth programs, and direct the city secretary to schedule a public hearing to allow the comments on May 7th, 2024 at 6:30 PM.
Second.
And all in favor? And it passes. Thank you, Bob. Sometimes before I get there, to look at you, your hand's already down. Okay, and at this time, in compliance with Chapter 551, Texas Government Code, Open Meetings Law, the council will retire into executive session related to Section 551.087 for discussions regarding commercial and financial information received from a business prospect, and/or to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business or prospect. 14, discuss Borger Inc. Project 828, and 15, discuss an incentive agreement by Borger Inc. for Yucca Estates. And we're going in at 2:22. we've returned to open session, and at this time, we will consider item 16, consider and take appropriate action on Resolution R-009-24, authorizing Borger Inc.'s engagement of 828 Sports Development Group for the development of a sports tourism project. And does anybody have anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we consider and take an appropriate action on the resolution R-009-24, authorizing Borger Inc.'s engagement of 828 Sports Development Group to develop a sports tourism project.
Second.
And all in favor? And it passes. And item 17, consider and take appropriate action on resolution R-010-24, authorizing Borger Inc.'s incentive agreement with 712 General Contractors LLC for the Yucca Estates subdivision. And I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we take action on Resolution R-010-24, authorizing Borger Inc. incentive agreement with 712 General Contractors LLC for the Yucca Estate subdivision.
Second.
And all in favor? And it passes. And item 18, consider and take appropriate action to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
And all in favor? All opposed?